Dear users, in this video you are going to see executive techniques of ancient Persian instruments. In these two instruments, the sound is emitted by scratching a stick or a sheet on the rough surface which are not perfectly flat. We observe two airbrush instruments belonging to the category of scratching instruments. We observe one in terracotta found in the province of Lorestan, dating back to between 1200 and 1500 AC. It has 26 cm height with a diameter of 6 cm, exhibited at the Tehran National Museum. We observe another one with the same characteristics but different dimension. In fact, it is 36.7 cm high and is exhibited at the Tehran National Museum. The castanets are made up of two small wooden shell-shaped parts. The instrument has a bell that is tied to the thumb and the middle finger of the musician, allowing the simultaneous and rhythmic percussion of the two shells to emit the sound. The sound produced is dry and has no height. The castanets in the central part are concave and have a hole to allow the passage of an elastic band that has a handle function. Sometimes two castanets are used in two hands to amplify the sound. This tool is used in marriages and celebrations. It is used together with other instruments such as tambourine. You can play while sitting or dancing. The castanets are produced in iron or aluminum, while in ancient times they were built in bronze or terracotta. The diameter is 6 cm with a thickness of 1 cm. The rattle is normally made of wood, typically walnut wood. The instrument is played with the following technique. It is held with one hand and strikes regularly with the other. Some rattles are made up of three parts. Two plates in the shape of a spoon contain a wooden slab and moving it. The two spoons strike against the wooden slab, producing the sound. Two oval spoons placed sideways and the wooden foil are connected through a wire that is passed through some holes. This instrument is used in wedding ceremonies and is normally played by men during exhibitions or in the theater or dancing. The rattle is an instrument that is played in solitary mode. In the Iranian regions, the most diverse and widespread types of idiophonic instruments are from the bell family. These tools can be divided into two groups with direct or indirect percussion. For example, the bell of the Zoroastrian fire temple is played directly, while other types of bells in the regions of Iran are played indirectly. The group that is played indirectly is divided into two subgroups: bells that are played with the relative knocker and those that are played through a ring or few weights inside. There are bells that include many small rattle-shaped objects inside, some of which are bells that produce very faint sounds, which can be considered musical instruments. The bells more often are placed on the body, for example at the feet of dancers. There are bells of plant and animal material, but more commonly they are made of walnut and are used as necklaces, belts, and anklets. The bells of animal material are used less, for example the mountain goat's ear bell or plinths. The cymbal consists of a metal sheet with a central recessed hole. The instrument is composed of two circular brass and metal plates with a variable diameter between 30 and 40 centimeters. Each plate in the central part has a leather ring so that the musician can take it with his hands. In small orchestras, they can be hooked on a metal bar and are connected to a pedal that the musician operates to allow the plates to hit each other and produce sounds. The cymbal in Asia, Middle East, and in Europe has a long history. Conventionally, the plates are played horizontally and produce the sound we all know. When used in a vertical position, the sound produced is more acute. The instrument is played in symphony orchestras, jazz, blues, and rock. The ney has 7 seams and 6 knots, with 5 holes on the front and 1 on the back. To play it, cover the holes with the second and fourth fingers. With the other, cover the holes using a first to fourth finger. A brass cover of short length on one or both ends covers the tube that is placed in the mouth and is so thin that it can be placed between the teeth to play it. The complete ney has 7 holes. Ney is built with different diameters from 1.5 to 3 cm and different heights from 30 to 70 centimeters. The volume of the sound in the instrument reaches 3 octaves. When the air conveyed into the instrument, opening and closing the holes with the fingers, both low and high sounds are produced. To play this instrument, we have to place it between two front teeth and the tongue is bent inward and pushed against the mouthpiece envelope. This instrument is made up of a conical tube that from the mouth side, as it has been said, has a mouthpiece similar to that of the trumpet called gomish. The sorna belongs to the category of double-mouthed tools, and its gomish consists of two blades tied together to form a flat circle. On the tube there are 6 or 7 holes, and the musician filling or opening them with the fingers of both hands produce the sound, and as in modern flutes, there is a hole for the tongue. The length of the instrument is variable, usually between 30 and 45 centimeters, with a maximum length of 60 centimeters. The volume of the sound in this instrument is variable and depends on the length of the instrument. So the larger sorna has a lower sound field than the smaller sorna. We can say that the sorna is the typical Persian instrument, of which there are written testimonies also in the poems of the most famous Persian poet of antiquity like Maulana Rumi, in which sorna, sarna, surne is indistinctly called. The local sorna is played often with the duhol, a membrane instrument which we will discuss later. 3 holes are recognizable. The musician blows in the instrument through the mouthpiece, putting his finger on the holes to adjust the vibration through the holes not occluded by the fingers. Other texts mention the use of the instrument during the holidays, along with other string instruments such as harp, tambour, and barbat. However, according to our classification, the sorna instrument is a woodwind instrument with double mouth and is inserted in the third part of our instruments, the existing and still used ones. The whistles have different shape and were made of bones clay. This instrument is played by compressing the air flow. This is why it is able to produce only a note, and therefore we can say that this instrument is not a musical instrument, but an instrument of acoustic signal that in ancient times considered a musical instrument that accompanied other instruments. Some horns are made of a spiral tube empty inside. Because of its elementary structure, it is difficult to play this instrument because of the strong pressure that musician must be able to produce by breathing. In fact, no musician can play it for long. Because of its basic construction structure, it is difficult to play it and requires great effort so that musician can play it for long. Usually the instrument is used during the ceremonies. It is used to play by passing between the musicians who play it by positioning it vertically and blowing into appropriate hole. The sound is intermittent and the breathing technique is not used to produce the notes. In Iran today, the horn of the province of Bushehr is very famous and is only played in religious ceremonies, along with the damam and the plate, typically during the months of Muharram and Safar. In the religious music tradition of province of Bushehr, the number of damans and dishes must be odd. In the period of reference, the band used to play moving following the rituals of religious ceremonies. Each mosque has its own musical group and specific instruments. In the past, they also used this horn to announce the beginning of the Livonia ceremony on the island of Khark, and this tradition lasted until about 80 years ago. The technique of execution provides that it is maintained with the thumb of the left hand placed inside the bridge of the frame, and you play with the right hand, also moving the wrist and striking it from inside, even with fingers of left hand. The daf has a circular wooden frame, and on one side there is a natural or artificial leather. The skin can be made of sheep, goat, and deer's skin. The skins which produce a better sound are the seasoned ones. Inside the daf are mounted hook-shaped pegs on which are mounted about 3 cm away from the skin and 1 from the handle, 3 or 4 metal rings that serve to stretch it. The date of this instrument is over 6,000 years old. In extra-Asian cultures, The daf was enriched by the insertion of some small metal symbols in the frame and took the name of tambourine, which in its typical form has an open side to facilitate maneuverability. Depending on whether the player is right-handed or left-handed, the daf is played respectively on the right or left side of his or her body. It is important to keep the instrument in the correct position, to assume a correct posture, and to play with an euphoric and pleasant sound. These are some of the basic rules for playing the instrument. Percussion instruments, frame, leather with an open side exist almost in all areas of Iran. Their apparent and structural characteristics are similar. There are various sizes, and the main difference concerns the methodology of connecting the leather to the frame, which occurs with or without the aid of rings. The tambourine is composed of a frame often made of wood or plastic, containing pairs of small metal rings, also sound emitters, called cymbali. As mentioned above, this instrument is smaller than daf, with the difference that in the latter there are small rings that are mounted on the inner face of the frame, and the tambourine is smaller than the daf. To play the tambourine, the central area of the tambourine is rarely used. The contact between the hand and the skin is usually far from the center on the edge. The second and third fingers hit the skin alternately. First 2 fingers and then the other 2, showing a pre-established order. The whole consists of a rather short cylinder, generally made of wood, with a diameter of about 1 meter and variable heights from 25 to 30 centimeters. Both ends of circular shape are covered with animal skin, generally of goat, deer, or lamb. The instrument is equipped with a thick belt that the musician uses to carry it and facilitates its use, hooking it to the neck so as to place the instrument on the front between the chest and the abdomen and play it on both sides. The musician in his right hand has a stick and his left hand has 2 thin sticks that beat the skin that can be deposited on the left surface, playing exclusively with the main stick and only on the right side. Sometimes these instruments are played only by hand, without sticks, those adopting another execution technique. The dohol is a local tool and can also accompany the sorna. Nagare is a percussion instrument similar to a double drum, whose membranes have different dimensions, one smaller than the other, which is played with 2 sticks. This instrument is composed of 2 drums in which the larger membrane emits a serious sound and the small one a sharp sound. Some of them, even in different areas, have only a tambour. In the past, the instrument was in terracotta and copper, and the gypsies in the area of Deilaman had built it mostly in terracotta, but today copper is used more and is covered in cow or sheep leather kept in a fixed position by twisted wires that are not used to tune the instrument. To tune it, you need to warm up the skin to become more resilient and more responsive to the percussion. For example, Thai nagare is made of coconut wood and goat skin. This instrument, like the whole, has a belt to fix it on the neck of the musician for the executive technique, so the performer can be sitting or standing with a large drum at the right hand and the small drum on the left hand. It has been played in some national religious ceremonies in the east of the country. Sorna and nagare are fundamental tools in the life of the villagers. These instruments were played in the wedding ceremony, in theatrical performance, during national and religious fests, in the bazaars and in the markets, and also during the hunting parties. In drum, the skins are fixed with nylon or fabric ropes, without the skin suffering from enlargement or tightening. On the drum, there is a belt in leather or fabric, which is used to fix it to the neck or on the right or left shoulder of the musician. A plastic thread is attached to the side of the drum on one side of the drum, which has an effect on the sound of the drum. The position of the drum with respect to the musician is vertical. This drum is played with 2 sticks. The drum is played with different customs in different regions of Iran, for example with foot dance, or in eastern Azerbaijan in the religious ceremonies of Muharram. In the Moscow, it accompanies other instruments such as plates, horns, and trumpets. We must remember that there are semi-spherical shaped drums, covered with the leather only on one side, developed in the Arab countries. These tools are built in earthenware wood, and sometimes metal and have various dimensions. In most cases, the skin is fixed on the edge of the instrument. There are also drums with a support foot which are covered with leather only on one side. These terracotta semi-spherical drums date back to 2000 years AC, and they are similar to percussion instruments that are still used in Iran today and are known as tombak. The drums are often used in military bands, but in some Iranian provinces, like in the East Mazandaran, in the southern Khorasan, and in the city of Yazd, in a set of drums they use dohol. However, they are of various sizes and shapes depending on the region of origin. This instrument is composed of a fairly small pear-shaped box and a handle, with increasing thickness towards the headstock. This instrument is played either with plectrum or without, or with bare hands. It is believed that professional musicians play with their bare hands. Talesh tambur, which is obsolete today, can accompany a singer or is played alone without other instruments together. The Turkish singers of Azerbaijan used to play the tambur together with the tamburian. In this region, the tambur takes the name of ashiqi. The custom of playing the tambur with the plectrum derives from the technique of playing the ashiqi. As has been said, the tambur has a pear-shaped case with a long handle and 10 to 50 frets and is made of wood. If this instrument is equipped with 4 strings, then therefore it has 4 tuning keys. This instrument does not have all the chromatic ranges of Persian music. This instrument is usually played with fingers and without a plectrum. Traditionally, according to Persian history, the famous philosopher Farabi has decided to place the ropes of the tambur of Baghdad and that of the province of Khorasan. The case of wood is very large and is pear-shaped with a short handle. Decorative motifs can also be engraved on the case. At the top of the handle, there are the keys to tune the instrument. The wood has 10 threads divided into 5 pairs, each of which is a musical chord. This instrument is played with a plectrum. The plectrum is made from chicken or peacock feathers. The sound of the oud is heavy, but at the same time delicate, sad, and strong enough. This instrument could be played alone or together with other instruments. The wood used to build the oud must be perfectly dry and do not ooze moisture. In the beginning, oud had 4 strings, and then a string was added, so the 5-string oud became typical of the northeastern regions of Islamic countries, especially in Iran. Oud was one of the most popular instruments in Europe in the Renaissance. Although this instrument was already known by over 2000 AC in Mesopotamia, from 1500 AC in Egypt, and only in the 10th century it arrived in Europe. In the 15th century, oud was considered important, and even until the 18th century, it was an important tool, very widespread and popular in Europe. The most important difference between the various types of oud is the length of the case, the back shape of the instrument, and the number of the strings. The Italian oud has a wide handle and 20 strings and was built in the 16th century.